more about themselves and want to go beyond what they are. And we've devoted this time to doing that, and you guys get the opportunity to see this and take part in it. Institute of the Mind was developed for the process of developing people and having a place for consciousness individuals to live a better life, more fulfilled life.
Thank you, Abraham. As Abraham mentioned, we're giving value of a little bit. You're going to see a little bit of this seminar, the subconscious mind. And when we talk about development, I didn't understand what development means early when I started studying and working on my mindset. And it took a while to understand that developing me, it's going to better my life, and developing me is going to set up different sequence of event and circumstance in my life, and it's going to improve my life. And I did not know that, and through time I started realizing it, and it took a little while. And I think that's why a lot of individuals are confused and they don't understand the relationship between their mind and their reality. And I Am Mastermind Institute, we are here to give you an introduction of the mind. We give you a good understanding about who you are, what you're capable of, and what is that relationship between you and your reality. Every one of us has the ability to create the life that they want. Every one of us are capable of creating the life that they desire. And that comes through developing their mindset. And here in I Am Mastermind, we bring awareness to individual so they can understand, and so they start believing that they are able, they can. And that's part of our mission. That's part of my mission personally in life. That's very personal for me, and as well as Abraham. Today we're going to discuss the mind and why understanding mind is very important, and why you should know the mind is what the mind is, and how it's affecting your life, how it's affecting experience in your life, how it's affecting quality of your life, and how it's affecting your emotions, how it's affecting your reaction, how it's affecting your joy, how it's affecting your love life, how it's affecting your financials, how it's affecting your performance, and everything in your life. We're going to discuss that. I'm going to hand it to Abraham. Thank you.
Thank you. We're going to kick it off with what is a subconscious mind, and we're going to give a quick illustration so that we get a better understanding of the mind when we're talking about it, and then the different parts of consciousness. When we talk about consciousness, we're not talking about one thing. We're talking about the evolution of consciousness. And there's so many parts of consciousness, and when we use words to break down derivatives. We use words to give context to emotion, to a movement. So when we're talking about the subconscious, we're talking about another layer of the same thing called consciousness. So there's different layers of consciousness, and it's divided in sectors. And as we get a better understanding of the sectors, or the movement of the sectors, which we call subconscious, the sector we call conscious mind, we're still talking about one elemental key. And the elemental key here is spiritual consciousness. Now, spiritual consciousness begins to, you could say, branch itself off in so many different divisions. It separates itself, its consciousness, and it's regulating itself by law to understand itself. And it has many different characteristics of the mind. And the totality of the mind, it's ever present, it's all-knowing. And the better we can tap into that, the higher side of our consciousness, the more intelligent we'll be. So as we're looking at the mind, we're talking about something that's unseen. And because we're talking about something unseen, we have a hard time relating to it. So the best way to relate to it, we came up with an image. Dr. Thurman Fleet came up with an image back in 1934. And he made this image so that we can relate better, we can reason better. so that we can understand better what it is that we're talking about when we say the mind. Because the mind is a movement, and it is something that's unseen. We really don't understand the unseen part of our personality. And the truth is that the unseen part of our personality is what's creating our life. Now, in this top half, we're talking about the conscious mind. This is your intellect. And the lower half, we're talking about the subconscious mind. Now, in the lower part, we're talking about the body, which is the instrument. And this instrument is always in a movement and moving this body into action. But the thing that's unseen is this. The thing that's unseen is this. The thing that's seen are the actions that we're taking, demonstrating. We demonstrate a movement. And we pick up information from these antennas. These antennas are how we pick up information from our external world. And our external world is the people that surround us, the places, the plots. Let's see if we can change here. Plots and circumstances in our life. The places we enter, the people we meet, the people we don't meet. You ever notice that you meet certain people, you're in certain places, certain plots in your life, certain circumstances, and you ever notice that they more or less stay on plan? Well, it's because there's an intelligence that's thinking, which we call vibration. Vibration. This intelligence that's thinking, it's rarely understood, and rarely is it developed. Here in the subconscious, I'm going to talk about these two parts here. Here in the center of our being, it's called the resonator of the whole thing. This thing is vibrating, which means thinking. The perpetual transmutation of thought energy. It is always moving, and it is always thinking. But it has to think from a place. Because it needs ideas to build framework. It needs ideas to think about. So when you think, the average individual is thinking from their programming. Programming. What is the programming? It's the environment you came into. The environmental programming, and then genetic DNA coding. So we have this gathered information from where you came in. And that is immediately what went into your consciousness. So here we have this consciousness that's ever present, spiritual consciousness that enters, but it enters into the framework of the time of those people. And we start to gather their information. So as you come in, we enter into all of their information. As you begin to think from their ideas. These ideas you group together and then you think. Then you begin to move into action to the present day. The average individual is thinking, and they're thinking from these ideas. And it's rare you find somebody going beyond what they know and using the imagination. This is your imagination. Infinite intelligence. But it's rare you find people going here to get their ideas. They're normally going to what they know. Now, when we're talking about this mind, we're talking about a movement. When we're talking about the consciousness, we're talking about a movement. When we're talking about the subconscious, we're talking about a movement. We're talking about the body, we're talking about the illustration of the movement. The brain is not the mind. Majority, when we're talking about the mind, maybe you're thinking about the brain. The brain is a dumb terminal. The brain is a dumb terminal. You activate the brain. You absorb information. You put information. You use your brain to move the body. The brain alone has no life and power, and the body alone has no life and power. You are the thing that's giving it life and power. And you may say, well, who am I? You're a spiritual being experiencing a physical reality. So when we're talking about subconscious, you're talking about the same primal consciousness that has entered, but it's entering in the average individual. It goes directly into what it knows and it moves the body. Even though that same spiritual essence, subconscious, could enter into the imagination and use something more. So here we go. We're talking about the brain. It's a physical structure transmitting information back and forth through the body. The brain works with the five senses, connects you to the external world. This intelligence is vibrating, sends a signal, the body moves into action. And the truth is, as you think, you're setting up attractive forces. As you think, did you not look for the job? As you thought, did you not look for the relationship? As you thought, did you not look for the vase, the cup? Did you not look for the flowers? Did you not look for everything? Begins first in the mind that's unseen, and then you move into action. What is this mind? It's energy. The mind is unseen. The mind functions in these two forms. More, but we're talking more about these areas in the third form, which is the body. Emotional mind, subconscious, cannot reject, must accept, cannot determine the difference between what is real and what is imagined. Conscious mind is your educated mind. It is what's connected directly to your external world. Your intellect, intellectually, you see, and as you see, and you want to relate to the outside world, you go into your box, into your memories. And as you enter these memories, you can relate to people. You can relate to sound. You can relate to the music if you've heard it. This is, you're going into the memory of the past. And as you tap into that memory, you comprehend to the degree of what you have learned from your time. So this mind is a movement, but we're normally thinking from what we know. Now, a lot of you may be here today, and you're here because you want something more. You want to live more. You want to achieve more. You want to have more. But how can you go beyond what you are, and how can you go beyond what you know? And most importantly, how can you have what you don't know how to have, what you don't know how to get? So this is why it's so important to understand the way this process we call the mind, conscious, subconscious, why it's so important to understand how the mind operates, because you're the one living and experiencing its thoughts. You're the one experiencing its energy. You're the one experiencing its results. You're the one experiencing and deviating time and space and creating more memories from this process. But as you really begin to understand it, you open up the world to a new reality. I'm going to hand it over to Ta. We're going into programming. think I'll...
Abraham mentioned that, talking about mind, basically, we're talking about unseen world that is creating our seen world. Basically, it's a world of thoughts, that accumulation of those thoughts that you have, or ideas that you have, or who you think you are, and the opinion you have of yourself, the inner talk that you have, and the belief that you have. Accumulation of all those is creating your life. It's creating, making the decision, and they have the decision that you make, and they set up a sequence of events. And those thoughts themselves, as he mentioned, they have attraction force. So they attract things to you through sequence of events, through people, through places and plots and circumstance. So when we're talking about subconscious mind and programming, you have to understand that you are already programmed with ideas, and you are already programmed in genetically and environmentally. And when we're talking about this energy, the mind, this energy is constantly going through you. And this energy that goes through you is thoughts. And those thoughts are images. And those things are already affecting you and setting up your vibratory rate. Because every one of us has a certain vibratory rate that is vibrating in a certain frequency according to our programming in our subconscious mind. And that vibratory rate, it has action and reaction, meaning is whatever is sending out in a certain frequency is setting up the people that it comes in your life, the places that you're in, the timing that you're there, the circumstance that you see, and everything that you see in your life, it's according to your vibratory rate. And that vibratory rate comes from accumulation of your thoughts or in your subconscious mind, which we call programming. So in order to us, I explained that, I explained a little bit about programming. Areas are a set of beliefs and perception we obtain through age 0 to 5. So the majority of our programming happens in from born till age of 5. We come into this world, we come to a family, we come to a place, a geographic place, whatever country we call it. We come into a certain family, we see that they speak certain language, and we see they have certain culture, they celebrate certain things, they grieve for certain things. We see that how they are expecting, what they're expecting from life. That's how our perception is built. And we see their view, we see what they watch, what kind of movie they watch, what kind of news they watch, what kind of book do they read? Do they read or they don't read? Are they educated or not educated? What their view is on politics, what their view is on financial world, what's their view on everything, family, relationship. And we start picking those up because from age of when we're born to 5, we're just open and we're receiving. As Abraham earlier mentioned, that your subconscious mind is only accepting. There's a lot of things that you are programmed that you're not aware of because they happen at a very young age. You are doing it, or you have those programming, but you're not aware of it. How are you becoming aware of it? Through the inner talk, through the circumstance, through the people that you bring in your life, through different situations. You're going to see what I'm seeing is there's a reason for what I'm seeing, because what I'm seeing is a reflection of me. So what's in it in me that I'm seeing that situation? So when we're talking about programming, continuing discussing the programming, it's determining our life, and it determines what's possible for us according to how we were programmed. And what's possible for us is when we start thinking about this, think about this. I want you to ask you a question. So when you start thinking about something, we're always thinking according to what's in here. We call it deductive thinking. What's in here? And the experience of others, what we hear from others, what we have experienced personally in the past, what other people say, or how other people are going to judge us, right? That's how we're thinking. So if I say, you know, from now on, if you went to school and you're going to become engineering, and after 4 years you decide, hey, this is not what I want. I want to go and do something totally different, right? Your want changes. But when you start thinking about that, because this program has a full control over you, you start thinking about, instead of thinking of what's possible for you, what's your desire is, you start thinking what's possible for you according to what they tell you it's possible for you most of the time. And when we're not using our imagination. We're using deductive thinking, which is deductive reasoning, meaning that we think from the programming, we think from limitation. And then when we think from limitation, what's possible for us is according to what we know and what we were thought. So it's very important to understand, that's why we keep talking about mind. It's very important to understand that the secret is here in the subconscious mind in order for you to change the experience in your life. Everyone wants to change. Everyone wants to have desire. That's how we were built. We're built to have big goals, big dreams. That's what everybody wants. And the bigger picture is every one of us are a spiritual being and are here for expressing, full expressing, and expressing themselves. And we are wanting and expressing it consciously, but it's difficult for us to go and create what we want and what we desire. Why? Because there's so much programming in us, so much data in us that has already decided where our destination is. And we have to intervene through that programming that has been with us all the life that we live, not only environmentally, but genetically for more than 3 million years. That's why working on yourself and developing yourself the rest of your life, it's important, and it's should be on top of your list, because as you go through life, not all the program that you have you remember. As you go through the life, through the people, through the places, through the plots, through the circumstance, through the situations, through the things that you go through, you start seeing who you are. And instead of reacting, instead of looking at it or getting upset or becoming agitated or angry, you're going to ask yourself a question. What's in me? What's in my programming that is showing me what I'm seeing? Like Marcus Aurelius said. He said that in our reality, what we observe is not for us to get excited or sad or happy, or it's just for us to understand what we have demonstrated in our life. Because everything that we're seeing in our life is according to our subconscious mind. We live in our subconscious mind. Let me give you an example. When I say we live in our subconscious minds, what does that mean? That means everything you do, everything, the clothes you wear, how you fix your hair, how the dress you put on, decoration of your house, the setup of your house, the car that you get, how organized you are, whether you are or not. Everything about you that you can see in your life is product of accumulation of your subconscious programming, which what we call programming. Everything that you see. So what we're seeing, we live in our own world that we can see what's there. If we don't like it, we can't change it. I heard that first time from Bob Proctor. He says, everything that you see is what you earn and you have, because it's product of who you are, right? And if you don't like it, you can't change it. So that was a big question for me. How can I change it? Because at that point, I didn't know that I make those decisions. I am the center of my life, and I decide what I want to see. And I am somebody very important in my world that it creates this world. So that's why it's very important to stay aware and constantly ask yourself, what is it that I need to improve? Because without improvement, your life is boring. Your life is, you're just existing. You're not living. And the way we are, the way we're designed is to always grow and always enhance. When we're talking about the subconscious mind and programming, you have to understand it's not something that you can identify. A lot of people are looking for instant results, instant gratification, and they think that if they come in, read this book, or they always ask me, hey, what book do you recommend? If they read books or read this book, or they go to a few seminar, personal development seminar, they got it and they understand it. That's not how it works. These ideas, these thoughts, the self-image that you have in you, it wasn't created in overnight, that you can change it in overnight. It created, as I mentioned, at least genetically over 3 million years, and it requires consistent work for you to be able to change it. And in order for you to change it, there's a huge factor. And that factor is having a big goal. That goal is going to give you a desire. That goal is going to give you energy for you to be able to overcome all the obstacles, all the setbacks, all the failures, everything that you have to go through to change, to become who you need to become, to see different in your life. That requires a special energy, high level energy, which we call it burning desire. So in order to change, you got to have big goals. And when you achieve that goal, you got to have another big goal, because these goals are going to give you energy and they're going to help you go through the process and become who you need to become, and ultimately not give up and continue work. Like just Erd Nigel said, he says, success is progressive realization of worthy ideal. Success is progressive realization of work. I mean, progressively, I'm realizing, materializing what I want and is worthy of me. So that's why understanding subconscious, understanding the mind, understanding why we do what we do, understanding the results in our life, the question is in you, within you. It's not outside of you. It's not you. Like I always tell people, I said, hey, seminar is a good start. We're helping you become aware here, but it's not something that you say, I'm going to go to this seminar because I went and studied that book, because I went to that class, or I went and signed up in this program, it's going to change my life. That's completely false. The program or seminar or the book is for you to help you become aware, like become conscious, but you still have a bigger task to do, which is changing who you are first, and then applying the information that you're learning. Because without application, you're not going to see major changes in your life. Without application, you're not going to reprogram your subconscious mind. Without complete effort and conscious effort and having a goal and good intention, constant intention, you cannot change your programming. I'm going to have Abraham, we'll get into this next slide, primal expression and spiritual expression.
I'm going to tap into a little bit on, I'm going to go into Think and Grow Rich on the subconscious mind. I'm going to read a little bit in here so that we get a little bit more understanding, and we're going to get a better understanding of how the mechanism of the process and mechanism of the mind and how it operates. The subconscious mind consists of a field of consciousness. The subconscious mind consists of a field of consciousness in which every impulse of thought that reaches the objective mind through any of the five senses is classified and recorded, and from which thoughts may be recalled or withdrawn as letters may be taken from a filing cabinet. So here we go again. The subconscious mind consists of a field of consciousness, in which every impulse of thought that reaches the objective mind through any of the five senses. So here we are in the physical world, field of consciousness. There's information in the field all around you. Why do you think you get ideas and just come into the screen in the mind? Do you think that's an accident? You think what'd you walk into? What'd you breathe in? How did the idea come into your mind? How did you get a vision flash on the screen of your mind? Accident? No, we operate on frequencies. You operate on a frequency. I operate on a frequency. And as we think, we set up vibrations and we signal and we get information coming in from all around us. And this happened at zero. We come out, first thing we do, open our eyes, our ears. And what do? Here comes in the floodgates of all the things that's happening around us. And what do we do as consciousness? We begin to absorb. Nature abhors a vacuum. We begin to absorb all of this data so that we can relate to the things outside of us. We begin to absorb everything because we want to understand, because we want to experience outside of ourselves. So we begin to take on all this information. Subconscious mind consists of a field of consciousness in which every impulse of thought that reaches the objective mind through any of the five senses is classified and recorded, and from which thoughts may be recalled or withdrawn as letters may be taken from a filing cabinet. It receives the files, senses, impressions, or thoughts regardless of their nature. You may voluntarily plant in your subconscious mind any plan, thought, or purpose which you desire to translate into its physical or monetary equivalent. Now here we go back to when John F. Kennedy asked Dr. Warner von Braun, what would it take to take the man to the moon and back? Von Braun said simply, the will to do it. The will to do it. What did he know? He knew that if he were to focus on one image and they were to focus and gather many men, many women together to come together in a spirit of harmony and imagine, focus to imagine. We're going here, we're going to a place, what would we need? We're going to go there, there's a place, grabbing engineers, left and right, different components, different areas. This is what we need to go, this is where we're building. And we sit down and we what? We dream, we imagine. And what do? They're picking up ideas from infinite intelligence. Where did the light bulb come from? How is it that Edison came up with the bulb, and yet he had other men sitting right next to him, and none of them got that idea? What's the difference? How many men and women walk around these individuals, and they don't seem to get the idea? Why? Because the average individual is so accustomed to thinking from what they know, and they keep their eyes on the ground in the forefront, and they never look up. They never go up. Their desire never goes beyond to think something else is possible. So all these people, they're directly connected. They could do it too. But they're not tapping into that field of consciousness. But yet we have one man here every now and then that sticks out like a sore thumb. And he gets ideas, and they say he's a genius. Well, where did it come from? Well, go look around. You can't see the idea. But he picked it up. And then he transmutes it into form. And the world says, wow. They didn't know they had the same power. How often have you had a vision or a dream or desire, and something flashes on the screen of your mind, and you say, it's not possible. Or you start to dream and you start to play around with the idea, and then you just let it go and it fades away again. Who's letting it fade away? Or you say something on the TV, you say, oh, I had that idea months ago. Sure you did, Jack. Jack didn't know that if Jack would have sprung to action with the idea, maybe he would have brought something new to the world to see. Instead, somebody else plucked the idea and moved it into form. Interesting how that works. It receives and follows sense impressions or thoughts regardless of their nature. You may voluntarily plant in your subconscious mind any plan, thought, or purpose which you desire to translate into its physical and monetary equivalent. The subconscious acts first on the dominating desires. The subconscious acts first on the dominating desires which have been mixed with emotional feelings such as faith. Did you know that faith is positive and negative? You can have so much faith in the thing going wrong, that's what you find. You can have so much faith that everything is impossible, that everything is impossible and it won't happen. Faith is directional. The subconscious mind works with the most dominating thoughts. So if you keep thinking from what you know, you keep getting ideas and they come floating into the screen of your intellect, and here they come flashing on the screen of the mind. Why did this idea come to him and not her, to her and not him? Why did it come to Edison and not Jim, Jack, Jim, Bob, Tim? How come they're standing in the same place, but yet the idea didn't come to them? They're thinking from what they know. He's thinking from everything that's possible. These ideas, if you want these ideas, you've got to go beyond what you can see, hear, taste, touch, and smell. But the average individual uses his senses for ideas. These men that have shaped our world today are the men that go beyond what they can see, hear, taste, touch, and smell. Why do they do that? It's automatic for them because they desire to go beyond what they see. They desire to go beyond what the masses see. If you stay in form, just like the flock of them, you see all the same birds. If you work with the flock, you find the flock. And you surround yourself with the flock and you say, I want more, but yet you don't tune in. You don't get the idea. Consider this in connection with the instructions given in the chapter on desire. For taking the 6 steps there outlined and the instructions given in this chapter on the building and the execution of plans, you will understand the importance of thought conveyed. The subconscious mind works day and night through a method of procedure unknown to man. The subconscious mind draws upon the forces of infinite intelligence for the power with which it voluntarily transmutes one's desires into their physical equivalent, making use always of the most practical media by which this end may be accomplished. You cannot entirely control your subconscious mind, but you can voluntarily hand over to it any plan, desire, or purpose which you wish transformed into concrete form. There's plenty of evidence of support to support the belief that the subconscious mind is a connecting link between the finite mind of man and infinite intelligence. Now, this man studied 500 of the most wealthiest men in his time, and they were doing uncommon things. But yet they were so surrounded by so many people that would not get those ideas. They had a flock of people that would not get those ideas. But they would surround themselves with the people that would be able to transmute ideas. And the minute they got to the point where one of them could not transmute an idea, they'd say, find me another one. Why would Ford say, I want to see the V8? And he would hire the most specialized people. And he said, this is what I want to see. Do it anyway. It can't be done. Do it anyway. And when he got to the point where they could not demonstrate more imagination, find me another one. Find me another what? Not just a body, but a human body that can think beyond what he can see, hear, taste, touch. Find me somebody that their desire can go beyond the senses. To pluck ideas from infinite intelligence. Find me another one. How many times did Werner von Braun and Space Project go look for engineers, and they found engineers that were not in harmony with going there? It can't be done. Okay. Go back to what you were doing. How many engineers did it take to surround themselves with the right people that were ready to go to a place? How many times did they say, find me another one? Think about that. Find me another one. Somebody that's willing to go beyond what we see. So that we can bring something back, so that we can learn something new. That's called evolution, is it not? People that are willing to go beyond the senses, go beyond what we can hear, see, taste, touch, and smell, so that we can grow. That's what goals are for. So here in this seminar, we're talking about the subconscious mind, and the subconscious mind is in everything. It's your conscious, subconscious, superconscious. Subconscious is primal substance in action. That's what we miss it. Primal substance at its lowest or higher degrees. It's still the same consciousness, but it is working according to its awareness. Come look at the past. Were you not thinking and demonstrating your consciousness at 21 years old? Were you not thinking and attracting the people, the places, the plots, and the circumstances at that age? Were you not the thing thinking that brought life into form? You began to desire. You move the idea into your body. Body goes into action and attracts form. Conscious, intellect, subconscious, body, action, reaction. Are you not the thing that's moving all that? You know, I kind of look at ideas as find me another one. If we get ideas and we get thoughts that don't serve us, find me another one. Let that idea go. It doesn't serve me. If you find an idea that keeps haunting you at night and saying you're not worthy, let it go. If you keep getting a vision that is coming to you and is talking to you, is telling you, you know you're more, accept that one. Because that's the one that's going to take you beyond what you know, so that you can develop yourself to becoming the person you want to see. Isn't that not the person you want to see in front of the mirror? You want to experience him? You want to experience her? Is that not the person that you really known to be, you really see yourself to be? It's not the other one. But that means you have to become that person. And the only way that you can become somebody new or an alternate reality of you is to develop yourself with goals and visions and desires to change who you are. Now, the possibilities of creative effort connect the subconscious mind are stupendous and imparable. They inspire one's awe. I never approached the discussion of the subconscious mind without a feeling of littleness and inferiority, due perhaps to the facts that man's entire stock of knowledge on this subject is so pitifully limited. The very fact that the subconscious mind is the medium of communication between the thinking mind and the man and infinite intelligence is of itself a thought which almost paralyzes one's reason. After you have accepted as a reality the existence of the subconscious mind and understand its possibilities as a medium for transmitting your desires into their physical and monetary equivalent, you will comprehend the full significance of the instructions given in the chapter Desire. You will also understand why you have been repeatedly admonished to make your desires clear and to reduce them to writing. You will also understand the necessity of persistence in carrying out these instructions. Now, again, how many of you think that you're thinking? And the minute you start to think, you go right back to that to make a choice of where you're going. You think that you're thinking, but you're grouping this analog, and then it goes right to the body. I don't know how many times I see people, they know they're going in the wrong direction, and they still keep driving there. Accident? Whatever the mind keeps desiring, this will be its fulfillment. This will be the pattern plan. This will be its future. By law, things must come into form. What is primal expression? Primal expression is the natural emotions we have attached to the human form that we express. Primal comes from the mammal characteristics that we naturally receive when we enter this body. Survival, defense, emotion, reactive. This is at its lower states. When will our consciousness go beyond and go higher? Well, your self-image has to accept the fact that you are capable of doing and being so much more. Your self-confidence has to believe as your energy rises, we have 3 energy levels. Primal instinct is survive, reproduce, next, family, emotions. Next, solar plexus, my self-image. If it gets to the self-image, it doesn't believe it can do anymore, you really don't extend yourself any further. The same desire that is hooked up to everyone else, it just doesn't go any further for the individual, even though he could aspire to be so much more. So we're talking about energy, and you're wondering, why am I living the life that I'm living? Why do I not get the ideas that they get? Why am I not living the life that I want to live? Well, let's look at what your beliefs have conditioned your body to act like. Let's look at what ideas you keep focusing on that's directing the intelligence. If you keep going back to the memory of the past, the memory of your family, the memory of the district, the memory of the city, you're going to keep getting their ideas. How could you ever be anymore? If you're not willing to go find information that's going to take you beyond, if you're not willing to go find the people that understand how the mind works so you can develop yourself to have things you want, how could you ever be more than what you are? You've got to learn to direct the emotions. You've got to learn to direct your reality, to direct your life. What is spiritual expression? Spiritual expression is the pure essence of the being expressed through action and creative thinking. We think on frequencies, we operate on a frequency, and we attract things from that frequency. It's still essence. We are spiritual beings experiencing a physical reality. This is where we miss. What we want to do is get a better understanding of our infinite potential. We came from the divine. We work through the body. The body will have its time where it's going to go back to earth. Right now is the time you get to experience all that you could ever want, all that you could ever be. I remember many years going to the Procter & Gallagher Institute and meeting many people. And these individuals were coming from around the world. And they were not the normal people. The normal people were still at home doing what they do. The common people were sticking to their environment, and they were not thinking that anything else was possible. They were not willing to work on themselves to go beyond. The people that I would meet there were different. It was rare I would find that many that came out of Canada. Interesting. Out of Toronto, out of Bob's City. I'm finding people that are coming out from around the country, but nobody's coming from Toronto. Why? Because he was attracting that 1 to 3% that knew that there was more for them. So we have a lot of people that are from the world, global. But it was rare that I would find more than 2 or 3 people, rare that 2 people that would come out of the same city. Isn't that interesting? No, it's not. Because this is what's happening. They say 60% of individuals, 60% will never even know that they don't know. They will never even know. They won't even want to know what they don't know. Completely blind to the way they work. Then they say 20% will begin to notice something and become aware of something, but they won't research. That's 80% now. And then we've got another 17% that will know that something's different, and they'll begin to want to study and begin to read and want to understand. They don't change. Isn't that amazing? And here we have people like Tesla. Here we have people like Edison. Here we have people like Marconi. And they're paving the way to a new frontier. Because they're using a different way of thinking. Here's the thing about entrepreneurs, businessmen, businesswomen. Without knowing it, they're working with the law. They know that there's a place and that's where they're going. Yes, sometimes we get it wrong. Yes, sometimes it doesn't work. But they are working at the word called mastery. They didn't even know that an entrepreneur automatically is working at mastery. Why? Because an entrepreneur has to think in advance. An entrepreneur must work with a vision. An entrepreneur must see before anybody sees. An entrepreneur must think advanced decision. Again, what do we call that? We call that imagination. An entrepreneur must go beyond the senses. An entrepreneur must tap into a strategy and bring the strategy down and work it out to that definite end. And this is why, without even knowing it, he's in the mastery of consciousness, his own and the people that he will guide, his own and the directive of the team, his own self and everything around him. Because everything that is formed as you see it is always guided by a conscious individual with advanced decision-making perimeters in his life. And if he cannot advance decision make, then he will follow somebody else that does. Think about what I'm saying. You will advance decision make, and you will have to pave the path, and you will have to build things. You will always have to advance decision make. You will always have to think ahead of time. You will always have to forecast. You will always have to think about how they're going to get paid. That means you got to engineer the future. You're an engineer. You're a quantum engineer. You're quantifying the physical reality. You have to quantify it. That if you were not there, the thing would fall apart, would it not? Entrepreneurs, without knowing it, they're quantum engineering. How do they do that? Well, they've got to think, and they've got to imagine, and they've got to work their ideas out. They've got to bring them down here, and then they've got to illustrate it, see if it works or not. And if it doesn't work, they've got to go back to their imagination and use it all over again, and then bring it down and try it. What are they in? Into the world of the mastery of the mind. They didn't know what they were doing. They didn't know that this was the way to the path of creative imagination and growth, prosperity. Two ways to live. You will either create it or you will follow somebody that is creating it for you. That's all there is to it. Is it not true? You will either create your destiny or you will follow somebody else that is thinking in advance so that you can earn money, you can put food on the table, so that you can give service, so that you can fulfill your family and their life and support them. I'm going to pass it over to you. Break. We're going to go into our break time. What time is it?
It's 7:10.
We're going to go ahead and cut it off, the live stream. I want to thank you guys. Again, we're giving you guys a lot of value, and really to the benefit of you and your family. This is how you can live to become the person you want to be.
Yeah. Well, first you got to believe it. That you can do it, and it's you that has to do it, not nobody outside of you.
You got to make a change. You got to bet on you, and you got to make a decision. If not, you go back to what you are. I didn't want to stay there.
Yeah. Same here.
Thank you guys, and we're going to be taking a break. We'll be coming back in 7 minutes.
Thank you.
Thank you guys.
Hey, would
Huh? Yeah. 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 Well, just we're making it flow. Are you? Yes.
I was zoning out. What he was teaching, I was thinking. I was like, he was